We talk about old movies, new movies, dumb movies, good movies, all alike. Most of them are dumb. Most movies that come out each year, there's like thousands or something like that. There's like 1,000 movies that come out each year. Most of them are dumb. 95% of them you won't see. Probably more than that. What's up, Will? We're live. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on every day at noon, Monday through Friday. I wasn't going to go to the beach today. I was going to go. I was going to look at it. I was asking people. I was like, hey, do you think it's a good idea to go to the beach? And they were like, no. But I still want to go. I'm getting kind of pasty for my complexion. My complexion is way too light. I look pale for what I'm supposed to look like right now. I'm very pale. Thankfully, I've got a built-in tan, but I got to tell you, I feel like I'm malnourished. I'm starting to look very much like Tom Hanks in Castaway, because he was probably darker than me in that, and my hair is a Tom Hanks level. Tom Hanks in Castaway level haircut right now. Interesting, there's no data streaming. So that's, my stream just died. How did my stream die, guys? Interesting. Oh, there it is. And we're back. Technical difficulties. Hello, I'm waiting for people to just trickle into the room so we can dive into this discussion today. And if you're watching this on the replay, just skip to about maybe a couple minutes in, and then you'll see that we'll be off to the races, running, talking, chatting it up with our coffee, caffeine-induced, crazy, fast talking. Hey, Will. Yeah, Will, I see. Me and you two, you both. We got the built-in tan, so we're good for a while. But then you just got to get some sun after a while, because you got to get the vitamin D in there. You got to get all the processes that happen. I go out in the sun, but I cover my face and my head. Hey, Mom. I was just debating whether or not I should go to the beach. And I was having a very, very spirited debate, as they say. I was really getting into it. And you know, when you have a debate, it's usually with two or more people. So this debate rages on. We'll see what happens. We'll see who wins this debate in my head. Today, guys, you might have heard, Will, I know you heard this. Yeah, I'm going to respond to your comment there. This is a Kafkaesque dream. I am slowly awakening to find that I have become a giant cockroach. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, for that reference, I know this is a movie show, but our friend Will here is referring to the novel Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. It's a good book, but you got to get a good translation. It's like a Ukrainian book. I forget what country he's from. He's like Polish or so. I don't know. Kafka. Franz Kafka. Good guy. Got to tell you. He was friends with Jimmy Kafka. He's from the Czech Republic. He's Czech. Prague. So I guess, yeah. Franz Kafka wrote a book called Metamorphosis, but I started to read that book, but I was reading a bad translation of the book. You gotta get a good translation. The dude didn't speak English. So what kind of writer is this? Guy couldn't even speak English. But let me tell you something. He wrote a book in another language that apparently people speak. And I started reading it. It was a bad translation of it. I was working in a library in college, and it was funny because I loved working in a library because I would just go find books that I wanted to read. I was really excited about reading because it's fundamental. And I would go and look up all these books that I wanted to read, and there were all these great novels, like the top 100 greatest novels, and one of them is Metamorphosis. And it is about a guy who's just wakes up one morning and he finds that he's like a 6-foot tall cockroach living in his bed. Obviously, it's symbolic for stuff. But hey, Tatiana Wilkinson, welcome. We're just talking about giant cockroaches. And I was reading this translation, and it was like, not good. It was not poetic. It was not prosetic. it was just very dumb. It was like, what am I? Who am I here? I feel different. I feel different. Everything's changed. My limbs are strange. I look down. I see my legs are changed. I'm like, I don't think Franz Kafka really meant it to be told in such a facile manner. But yeah, it's a good one. It's nice. We are entering our own Kafkaesque dream, and today I'm really excited. Actually, am I really excited? Who is excited out there for the Snyder Cut? Justice League Snyder Cut. We got Jason Momoa, we got Gal Gadot, we got Henry Cavill, we got Ben Affleck, we got Ezra Miller, and Ray Swallow. They're all in this movie, right? They all play superheroes. They all play the gods. They all play the iconic, archetypical, godlike figures of the DC universe, which is, why I kind of rag on that universe, because I don't think that's, I don't know, it's not very, there's not much of contended, there's no stakes when, like, Wonder Woman and Superman can just punch each other all day, and then they're like, ow, psh, ow, psh, ow. Like, it's not very compelling after a while. You just go, okay, well, now you're going to get punched, and it's not going to hurt you or kill you or maim you. You're just going to go, ow, and then punch back for 2 hours. But guess what? Zack Snyder, if you don't know the history of Justice League, the DCEU, the DC Extended Universe, the Warner Brothers version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where they take their properties, which are all Superman, Aquaman, Cyborg, The Flash, Batman, Martian Manhunter, Michael Jordan, because Space Jam, why don't they get Michael Jordan? Why don't they put Michael Jordan in Justice League? Huh? I think that would be cool if they took Michael Jordan and put him next to Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and he could shoot the hoops. He could shoot he could shoot the most 3-pointers in one game up until he got beat by, like, Kobe. I would watch that Justice League. I know I was getting into the history of Justice League and the DCEU, and that why Warner Brothers was trying to compete with Marvel by creating its own universe, but retroactively, sort of reverse engineering a universe where they go, okay, well, whereas Marvel was like, here's a bunch of characters, and we're going to show you one by one and introduce you to each character so that you actually fall in love with each character and you follow their journey, and then they all come together to form a super team, and now you know the dynamics, how they work together and individually, and it's a world building process. It was an 11-year process that the MCU took. But because the DCEU and Warner Brothers was not really good at competing with that, they were just like, hey, we got Man of Steel, right? We're going to try to build a whole interconnected universe. We're going to try to do it, and we're going to rush it. We're going to fast forward it. We're going to take Man of Steel. Because if you remember Batman versus Superman, which was the sequel sort of to Man of Steel, it was supposed to be Man of Steel 2. And it was supposed to come out 2 years after Man of Steel. But it ended up coming out like 4 years after Man of Steel. Something ridiculous. Or 3 years. Because Man of Steel came out. And the MCU was taken off. The competition was taken off. They said, hey, wait a second. Well, why don't we just get Zack Snyder working his gears, the director, the creator, the director of Man of Steel, and the inventor of the DCEU, or the originator, the captain, as it were, of their journey into the superhero. Hey, Ange Endo, what's up? Good afternoon. Welcome. Zack Snyder was like, listen, okay, we're going to make a sequel, right? And it's going to be called Man of Steel 2. Now, this is the step-by-step... my hand got stuck to my face. Don't touch your face. This is the step-by-step journey. You guys may not remember this, but it was supposed to be Man of Steel 2 was supposed to come out. And then they were like, hang on a second. They even started like filming some things, I think. And then they were just like, hang on a second. 6 months later, they're like, okay, it's going to be Batman versus Superman. And everybody was like, what? Batman gonna be in this now? You're gonna just restructure your entire universe, your entire movie? And then they were like, all right, it's gonna be called Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, because we also want to introduce Wonder Woman and get this ball rolling into the Justice League. So it's like a fast-tracked movie universe where they were like, hey, audiences, you're dumb. You should just jump on board right away and medias res, which is sometimes cool, but not cool when they try to directly correlate it to the MCU, which is doing it right. And they're like, well, if people have already on the bandwagon for the MCU, if you're already on that bandwagon, we're just going to go, well, you're on that bandwagon, jump off that bandwagon and jump onto ours, or straddle both bandwagons, like Jean-Claude Van Damme in that Mercedes commercial when he's standing on the two 18-wheeler trucks, and then the trucks have like the computer-guided driving systems and they move apart, and then Jean-Claude Van Damme does a split. That was cool. Tomorrow's episode will be every Jean-Claude Van Damme split. We'll just name a movie, and then we'll all shout out the moment or two where Jean-Claude Van Damme has to do his splits. So then they fast forwarded. They did Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, which, by the way, is not very good. It's actually got some really cool stuff in that movie. Like, some of the coolest stuff. This is why I think Zack Snyder is cool, because he definitely imagines some really cool scenarios and is able to capture a unique visual style in his movies. But the story just wasn't there, brah. And also, I gotta say, my brother's friend's friend, Jesse Eisenberg. It's a long story. I gotta tell you, I don't know how he knows him, but my brother's known Jesse Eisenberg for like 20 years now. He's known Lex Luthor. And my brother he's not even into like movies and stuff. He's just like, I remember like 15 years ago, he's like, yeah, my friend Jesse's in a movie called like Charlie Banks. And then another couple of years later, he's like, yeah, my friend is in a movie with Bill Murray. Oh yeah, my friend is going to be in a movie called The Facebook. It's about the Facebook. And I'm like, you mean The Social Network, directed by David Fincher? It's like, yeah, my friend Jesse. My brother knew Jesse Eisenberg as the brother of the Pepsi girl, Haley Eisenberg, from the 90s. So my brother was like, hey, one of my friends, remember the Pepsi girl who was in the Ray Charles commercials? You got the right one, baby. Those commercials. You guys can Google it. You youngins can go Google this. So it was funny to me to hear about Jesse Eisenberg through the back channel of only the reference being, oh yeah, my friend, his sister was the Pepsi girl. That's a little bit of trivia, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Haley Eisenberg was like the Pepsi mascot for the 90s, or early 90s. Yeah, that's his sister. Hence the same last name and same face. They have the same face. The point is, my brother just happens to know him because he's like, they both share a best friend. Which, by the way, guys, if you want me to get a message to Jesse Eisenberg, I will try to go through some back channels and be like, yo, bro, what was up with this Lex Luthor portrayal? Why couldn't you just be like Sinister, but you had to be like Social Network? He's not watching, don't worry. Why'd you gotta be? Because I feel like I'm watching Mark Zuckerberg with a shaved head. Speaking about facts about DC, Angelo says, I'm totally biased to DC, and even though I sigh deeply at the structuring of the universe. Yeah, Angelo, N-O, that's how I feel about it too. You and me feel like, wow, I love DC. I love Superman. Superman's like my favorite. Spider-Man and Superman. I'm pretty simple. Captain America, Spider-Man, Superman. There's a trend here. I like the ones that are like fundamentally have a good intention. These superheroes. Wonder Woman. These are my favorite superheroes. However, they have not been able to really fully commit. I feel like it's a problem with Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers is just like got executives running it. Lots of people with money in higher up positions are like, hey, just got a little thing. People are like, hey, Warner Brothers. They're like this. Hey, Warner Brothers. If you see the cops coming, Warner Brother. No, they're like this. Warner Brothers, check this out. why don't you make a good movie about Superman? And Warner Brothers is like, we got so many movies. We got Christopher Nolan's. We got Clint Eastwood's. We got so many movies. We got all the movies. We'll do some little superhero movies for you. We'll do like a Superman movie. We'll put some money into that. But we're over here making other movies too. And then people are like, yeah, but if you spent the time and the money and the resources on the movies that people really are like clamoring for, because you could see the evidence over there at MCU, if you actually invested your time and your money and your resources into that, people would come back and they would want to see more. They would want to see. But Warner Brothers is like, we got so many movies, man. That's just another movie to us. And meanwhile, to contrast that, you've got the MCU, which is just like, we only make MCU movies. We only make Captain America and Spider-Man. Well, they share that with Sony, but you know what I'm saying. They are a completely dedicated studio that was bought out by Disney. So the parent company is Disney, but the dedicated company is Warner Brothers. I feel like DC has a section over at Warner Brothers, but I think that the movie departments are just kind of all mixed in together. And they're kind of doing that right now with the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Disney, because they're also staggering their release schedules with their Marvel movies, with their Star Wars movies, so that now they're like actually considering the other properties that they have. However, it was really interesting to see how Marvel can just completely dedicate their resources and time in their departments to creating an interconnected movie universe, which was completely neglected by the DCEU. I gotta tell you. Not completely neglected, just not given the attention that it deserves. Ange and O on YouTube says, I'm simple as well. I'll see anything Batman and say it's best, even when it's just meh. But give me Batman, Black Panther, and Cap, I'm fine. For real. I watched Batman vs. Superman, and I convinced myself it was good for like a full 2 months. I was like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It's not terrible. It's got some incredible movie moments. Like, incredible, iconic moments in a movie that's not that great. It's like way too long. There are too many characters. There are too many just left turns that the movie keeps taking. But just the iconic imagery of these two iconic, godlike characters, Superman and Batman, standing across from one another. It was just so cool to see that on screen, finally. To just see that, just to see the image of it. Sitting in a theater, guys, I know that you got excited as well as I did. I was watching those movies going, look at that right there. That's an image I never thought I would see. Batman staring down Superman and them punching each other in the face. I do love that moment, though, in Batman vs. Superman, when Batman is holding Superman and Superman's like a little bit weary. His body is weak because he had been doused with some kryptonite smoke. So he's like, uh-oh, I'm a little hazy daisy, and Batman's punching him. And then Superman starts to gain his strength, and then Batman's completely useless after that. It's pretty cool. Yeah, this is, I'm just catching up on some of these comments. It helps that Marvel was able to try out multiple filmmakers before giving Russo's the keys to the tour de force. Yeah, the Russos really came together with Kevin Feige on how those movies was going to go down. Now, that's a good segue, and that helps us along to get to where we are with Justice League, too, because if you remember, the first Avengers movie was written and directed by Joss Whedon, who was called in, and I believe Avengers was the first movie released under the Disney umbrella when Marvel was bought out by Disney just before that, and so Avengers 2012 was the first Disney-released property. So they got Joss Whedon in there. Joss Whedon's he's an excellent ensemble writer and filmmaker, so he knows how movies work, he knows how writing works, he knows how characters work. That's the most important thing. And it was really cool because what he was able to do with the Avengers, Joss Whedon, was take these iconic characters and really define them well in their scenes that he gave each one of them, because you don't even have to see any movie before that. When you watch the Avengers, you could just watch the Avengers and get what's going on. You get who's who, you get who stands for what, because Joss Whedon just really nails every single character and why they're so important and how they all work together and how they would interact, and they all have interactions with one another throughout the film, and they all are very useful and integral in the final battle, which is why I always love movies like or team superheroes like the X-Men, why I love the Justice League, why I love the Avengers, because they all come together. And the coolest thing for me as a kid was watching the creativity, watching, Super Friends every Saturday morning with the Legion of Doom. Imagine you joined the Legion of Doom. Legion of Doom was the bad guys in the DC universe. It was a cartoon animated show every Saturday morning called the Super Friends, and there was like a whole clubhouse of just superheroes, and they would sit there and plot on how to keep the peace in the world. And the Legion of Doom, of course, they had their headquarters in like a swamp, because they don't like nice things. Doom is in the name of their legion. It's like the VFW, you know what I mean? But for like bad guys. It's the Legion. It's like the veterans club for bad guys. So you got like Lex Luthor and the guy with the big head and other alien, like a green guy, just evil looking people. People that you'd be like, you're not up to any good. You guys look like you're bad guys. You guys should form a club and plot against the superheroes all the time. And then you guys will have something to do. Because you're no good. Y'all broke out of mental prison. Some of you. Joker. Was it Joker in that show, or did he like show up randomly? I forget. But I love shows like this. I love superheroes. I love when they come together like that, because what you get is the creativity and the imagination of like, oh, Lex Luthor's plan seems unbeatable, but now the Flash comes in and does his special talent. And then Wonder Woman does her special, like, invisible jet. And then Superman comes in and he does his punching. And then everybody does their little trick. You got Wolverine. He's like, I'm going to snick things. And I'm going to rage because I'm Wolverine. And then you're going to have, like... The cool thing about the X-Men that I always liked is, like, none of their powers are actually really any good on their own. So they have to, like, figure out interesting ways to use these powers. It's like, oh, there's just laser beams coming out my eyes all the time. I got to keep my eyes shut. Unless you put like Ruby in front of it, and then I just open the visor, and now I'm Cyclops. I could use my power for good. So this is what I wanted from the Justice League. I definitely wanted this whole concept of like coming together, figuring out how to team up. It's a team adventure. And Joss Whedon did that so freaking expertly in the Avengers. Even when Iron Man is trying to repair the helicarrier propeller, moments before that scene in Avengers, guys, he was about to come to blows with freaking Captain America. They were going to punch each other out. They were so mad at each other. One guy, it was really cool. I saw this thing on TikTok the other day. Oh yeah, I'm on TikTok. You guys should go TikToking. They showed the contrast, and this has got semi-spoilers, guys, but they showed the contrast between Iron Man and Cap first meeting in the Avengers, when Cap is like, you take your suit away, you got nothing. You're just a weak. No, he's like, and then Iron Man's like, no, I'm a philanthropist, I'm a billionaire, I'm a genius, I'm a superhero, whatever. And then he tells Captain America, the only thing special about you came out of a bottle. And now, juxtaposed, fast forward years later, what they were saying to each other was like the worst possible thing, because it wasn't true. It wasn't true, but they believed that about each other. However, it was proven that their characters shone through. Iron Man became, like Captain America says in Avengers to Iron Man, you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play. Who makes the ultimate sacrifice play? It's great. And then Iron Man says to Captain America, the only thing special about you came out of bottle. But guess what? Captain America was able to do. He was able to prove that he was worthy in a way without spoiling it. So fundamentally, those characters overcame the perceptions of the other characters. Really cool. Really good writing. Popcorn Passport says, DC is super trippin'. I've been collecting forever, but the movies to me are close to jumbled DC comic universe. Yeah, they've really jumbled it up. Yeah, Popcorn Passport, I agree with you. There's about 13 minutes out of the 3 hours of Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice that is really excellent, and then the rest is just kind of like, ugh, it's a slog. A friend of mine that worked on Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, I will say the whole title every time because it'll just emphasize how ridiculous that title is. So my friend is working on Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, and he sent me a copy of the extended version before it was available. And he's like, dude, no, just seriously, watch this extended version. This is after it was out in the theaters. He's like, the movie makes so much more sense. It's so much better. I fell asleep 40 minutes in. I couldn't even get, I'm like, you've extended a 3-hour movie? You've extended a 3-hour movie. Shoot me now. Yes, K-Ferg, what's up? Challenge of the Super Friends 11, the good guys, 13 bad guys. Oh, yeah. We've got 2 more bad guys, but a couple of those bad guys are kind of useless. Yellow, like Sinestro, come on now. Sinestro, he just yellow. You just shine like a green light at him, he would be fine. Joker wasn't black manted, yeah. See, the Joker wasn't, did the Joker ever show up, though? I wonder, in the Super Friends. Super Friends. Yes, Ange says that the Joker showed up from time to time. I thought so. I do remember the animated version of the Joker, because he was kind of based on he was sort of somewhat, I guess he was based on the comic book, but also the Cesar Romero version. Yeah, K-Ferg, yeah, put on the suit. And getting back to that relationship between Captain America and Iron Man, that contentious relationship. Now remember, Captain America and Iron Man are brothers. Now hear me out on this one. Captain America and Iron Man are brothers. That's right. They are brothers who have a constant sibling rivalry. You know why? Because Iron Man's dad, not only does Iron Man have daddy issues, but his dad created Captain America. Remember that? So if you look at all of those movies like Captain America Civil War through that lens of Tony Stark looking at Steve Rogers like, my dad always liked you best. If you look at it through that lens, it makes so much sense. You know, it's really cool because that's their relationship. Steve Rogers is like the favored son, and he's just liked better because he's fundamentally got a good heart, and Iron Man is just so sick of it. He just wants to punch him in his perfect teeth. He doesn't like that his dad may have loved Captain America more, or that Captain America might have been his dad's greatest creation instead of him. He can't handle it. This is why in Civil War, he's so mad at him. It's such a great scene at the end of the Civil War where they're fighting. Man, it's heartbreaking. And then he's like, give me back that shield. My dad made that shield. It doesn't belong to you. And then Captain America's like, you know what? F it. Here's your damn shield. I'm going to be my friend's friend. Friends to the end of the line. Good stuff, guys. I'm reciting it as if it's Shakespeare. It might as well be. That was like in Avengers. What is it, Shakespeare in the Park? Whedon inherited Iron Man from Happy Hogan himself, Jon Favreau. Oh, this is good information from Will. Who did Hulk first? The first Avenger. Did Phase 1 directors make it to Phase 3? I don't know if any Phase 1 directors made it to Phase 3, but Joss Whedon was making it, and now we're going to segue nicely into Justice League. But Joss Whedon did Avengers Age of Ultron, which I think was kind of a step backwards, guys. It's not the greatest Avengers movie. It has great stuff in there. Like, we learn certain things. We learn that Cap is worthy. We get introduced to Vision, who's an excellent character. He's very good kind of fly on the wall to everything, just like naive character. He was born yesterday. Fantastic character. Love his character origin. I love that Paul Bettany gets to play Jarvis for like 10 movies and then gets to actually play the embodied version of Jarvis. Very good Whedon ideas. However, I think that Avengers Age of Ultron really feels like a commercial for a lot of other movies. They're like, this going to happen in the Thor movie. This going to happen and then Hulk going to go fly away. And then we going to get Captain America and this is going to happen in their movie. And then Iron Man going to see this vision, which is going to be sort of the end or the beginning of Endgame, which was cool. And if you look at the Avengers movies, I guess Ultron, I saw a cool breakdown about this, but Ultron, Infinity War, and Endgame are very much a trilogy. You got Avengers as the origin story, and then the trilogy starts with Age of Ultron because they do resolve a lot of story arcs that they start in Ultron. And even as much as I'd like to think, I think of that movie as an afterthought. I think that it's kind of an afterthought, that movie, but there's so many important things that are introduced and resolved in Ultron. In a way, Cap's ending is direct counterpoint to Tony's, as if he was trying to out-hero him, was still trying to out-hero him. Cap's ending, do you mean Cap's resolution, where Cap... Explain yourself, Will. Yeah, I don't think any Phase 1 directors have made it over to Phase Trace, but the writers have, because the writers of Thor the Dark World wrote Endgame. So it's interesting to see. They wrote like 7 of the movies, and they really kept a good continuity. Will says, think about it. Steve was a martyr to Howard Stark, so surely Tony couldn't live up to that. And then comes back from the dead perfectly to make sense. Tony has a messiah complex. He's straightened up. Once he's straightened up. Tony couldn't live up. Yeah. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. So interesting. You're blowing my mind, Will. My gears are turning. I'm gonna have to think on this. Cap's endgame resolution when he's with Peggy. Ange N.O. Totally agree about Ultron. My brother and I said the movie had one purpose, and that was to give us information about the next phases and who else was coming. Absolutely. It had that function. It had two, like the only thing I ever show, I recently showed someone before going to see Endgame, I told them which movies to watch, and they watched them, and then I showed them just 2 scenes from Avengers Age of Ultron that I thought were relevant, and they actually were, and it was the hammer lifting scene, and it was the birth of Vision. And those are the only 2 scenes that I need to show anyone. You need to really show anyone in that. Maybe show a little bit about the twins, the origin of the twins and the Space Stone, the Mind Stone, I guess. But, Joss Whedon. I just got water all over myself. Joss Whedon is, he was out after Age of Ultron, and the Russos were in. The Russos were in because they did Captain America the Winter Soldier, and then that was like super dope, and everybody's like, yeah, you guys keep doing things. And they were like, okay, we'll do Captain America, Civil War, and 2 Avengers movies, and they'll all be excellent. And they'll all feature somebody from the TV show Community, which they were directors on, which is also very funny. I like that. It gives the movies a little bit of depth and character, which is funny. Soups is the martyr in Batman versus Superman. Yes. So now you get Zack Snyder moving into Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice, and Zack Snyder is like, I'm going to try to incorporate everything and the kitchen sink into this. I'm going to have Wonder Woman. I'm going to have Doomsday. I'm going to have Superman, the death of Superman, spoiler alert. I'm going to have Batman. I'm going to have everybody is going to be in it. And what's going to happen is, yeah, they're going to even have Batman and no Robin. Robin's dead. We see his suit. Is that Robin's suit? Robin got killed. Did Robin get killed by the Joker that was invented by Jared Leto, which is entirely forgettable and completely useless, and they serves no purpose in the movie Suicide Squad? Remember that? Lest we forget, Suicide Squad is a part of this interconnected universe because Batman's in it. Batman is in the Suicide Squad movie, and we're just like, okay. I like that Batman shares a scene with Will Smith. That was fun. Yes, hello, Justin. Hello, the fake Tom Ross. Where is the fake Tom? Why can't we get the real Tom Ross? Ultron should have been more dangerous, I think. You know what, the popcorn passport? Here's a little Easter egg, guys. By the way, Ultron exists. Ultron still lives, and I knew it. We never saw his ultimate demise. We saw the final confrontation with the final Ultron model. And remember, Ultron can transfer his consciousness into all of the different iterations of his bodies. So all of the different drones of Ultron had a full consciousness of Ultron at the same time, but they didn't have the adamantium, I'm just kidding, the vibranium body that Ultron, the Ultron Prime had, which was kind of indestructible. Now, the final showdown between Vision and Ultron, remember they're standing there and then they have like a nice little conversation, and then Vision makes a good point. He says that, yeah, humans are kind of weak and frail and whatever, and they're going to destroy themselves, but is something beautiful because it lasts? It's a good question. That is a good question. And then we see that Ultron goes to attack Vision, and then from afar, Vision shoots his brain laser at him. And we don't know whether or not Ultron died, but if you go to Spider-Man, I forget which Spider-Man, but Spider-Man Homecoming or Far From Home, Peter Parker opens his backpack, and there's an Ultron head in there with the eyes glowing. So Ultron's still around. I thought Ultron was going to show up in Endgame, but guess what? Ultron got room to show up in another Avengers movie as maybe a side bad guy. Maybe not the central guy, but there could be a version of Ultron that shows up again. So once Joss Whedon, writer-director of the Avengers movies, was out, Warner Brother was like, hey, Zack Snyder was in the middle of directing this Justice League movie, and there has been a horrible tragedy, and Zack Snyder needs to leave. I don't know if you guys know this, but it's a terrible thing. It's very sad. Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide. It's very sad. It's like, I sound like Trump. Very sad, very sad. No, but it's horrible. And rightfully so, he was like, I cannot finish these movies right now. He needed to take a break, because who can imagine what that's like? So with absolutely no questionings, the fans were just like, Zack Snyder, you'd go do what you got to do to take care of what you got to take care of. What's up, Dooney? Because we understand that's a horrible situation that you are in. So the movie was halfway directed by Zack Snyder, Justice League. And of course, Zack Snyder had his ultimate vision for all of these movies that he wanted to complete. But they pulled in Joss Whedon to sort of doctor and reshoot a lot of Justice League. Joss Whedon showed up and he's like, I gotta fix this movie and make it more of a movie that fans are gonna want. And fans, we never got the Superman we needed. We never got the Superman we wanted in Man of Steel. At least I didn't anyway. I like a lot of things about Man of Steel. I do not like a lot of things about Man of Steel. I don't like that it takes several movies for us to get to that Superman who's the Boy Scout, because Superman's just always the Boy Scout. He's always the good guy. He's always the guy who's going to fly in and save the day. That's his job. That's literally his job. He's the Ubermensch. He will save you. They never had that aspect of Superman in Man of Steel, necessarily. He was just straight up like, I don't know. I don't know if I should save people. But I always liked Christopher Reeve version of Superman, the comic book version of Superman of that era, the golden era, where he'd show up and he's like, I will save you. The cat in a tree, I will save you. I'm Superman. I am a Boy Scout. I can be exploited because I am so good. That's the whole point. Lex Luthor exploits Superman's goodness. That is how he gets one over on him. He's easily manipulatable because he's good inside and has empathy. And narcissistic evil people like Lex Luthor are abusive, and they use him for their own good. Okay. Popcorn Passport says Asian women who helped create Vision in Amadeus chose... Oh, that's right. New Hulk. Yes, the Red Hulk. From time in the books, the 8 smartest Marvel characters. I don't know why they have 8 instead of top 10. Yeah, you just... Because those last 2 just exponentially fall off once you get to 9 and 10. The last 2 smartest ones are like Martian Manhunter and Gorilla Joe. I forget what that guy's name is, but he's a gorilla. He's just a gorilla. Aren't that like the DC characters are funny because they just have like, it'll be a humanoid shape with a shark's head. It's like, okay, that looks cool, but you didn't really spend too much time thinking about that. Yeah. So the thing is, they could not put Justice League on hold indefinitely after Zack Snyder had to gracefully leave the project under tragic circumstances. But Joss Whedon came in and he was like, listen, I got to rewrite this thing. I got to make Superman the Boy Scout that we always wanted. He's got to he can't shave his mustache because Paramount... Guys, remember that mustache gate situation where Superman, Henry Cavill, could not shave his mustache because he was going to be in Mission Impossible and he couldn't shave his mustache? I don't get why they can't just give him a fake mustache, but Paramount, just to pull one over on Warner Brothers, was like, no, we got Henry Cavill under contract, so even though he's on these days off that you can reshoot some of Superman, he's going to keep his mustache for us. That mustache is like a $20 million mustache. You guys have to CG that mustache away. And it's so disturbing because he's like, hi, I'm Superman, and I'm here to save the day. You know, he got that weird fleshy colored fake upper lip that just goes like this when he's talking in the movie Justice League. In the very first shots, there's like supposed to be some cell phone footage from Kid talking to... He's like, hey, Superman. He's like, hi, kid. This is my upper lip area. Do not stare at it. Try not to see it. A friend of mine was like, I didn't really notice. I was like, I could not unsee it. Yeah, he could have just wore a fake mustache. Or he could have just been in Mission Impossible and been like, oh, I shaved. He could have been like, look, see this mustache? It's like, so, I mean, we would have bought... Why couldn't they just CG his mustache on his face for Paramount? So that's just a weird situation that they had to deal with. But Joss Whedon, I think, made a movie, Justice League. He made it come together. It's watchable. It's not good. It's just got a giant bad guy who smashes. And that's kind of their go-to. In the Justice League world, anyway, in the Warner Brothers movies, think about it. Doomsday, giant guy who smashes. Wonder Woman, who does she fight in the end? A giant guy who smashes. Justice League, who do they need to fight now? A giant dude who smashes things. I mean, he doesn't smash. I mean, maybe he smashes, but these guys seem to have no time to smash other than to smash. Gorilla Grodd. Yeah, there you go. He's just a guy, and he's got a gorilla head. I'm a gorilla. I'm a munchie-chi. That's my superpower. Imagine you got like a superpower that you just don't even care about. I can grow my beard real fast. Watch this. My beard grows at twice the rate. This time next week, it'll be noticeably bigger. I'm trying. I'm growing my beard. Hold on. See, there's some certain superpowers like that just, they're useless. But Professor X would probably help me channel that. Donate your beard to the beard charity. But guys, Justice League, pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff in there. I do like the punching for some of it. My favorite scene is when Superman comes back to life. After they go, let's just put some alien electricity into him, because this seems like science, right? Why don't we just drop a what do they call that? A super box? Let me just drop this alien box into a vat of liquid with Superman, and by my calculations, that should revive him. It doesn't seem all that great of a plan, but hey, it worked. Yeah, what we see, that was like a contrived use of everyone's powers. They were like, Wonder Woman, your yellow lasso will help power the cube. And I don't know, Flash, maybe if you run real fast, there'll be some electricity involved. And Cyborg, stand there with your glowing eye and maybe throw a car. I don't know, Cyborg, do something. Throw a football, Cyborg. You will throw the cube like a football as long as you throw it as a perfect spiral. And me, Batman, what I will do is I'll try to move my neck. I can't. I've got a cool voice. He had a cool voice this time. Everybody had to use their superpower in the dumbest way in that movie. King Shark. Yes, thank you, Popcorn Passport. I want to be King Shark. All I need is a shark head. They brought Superman back to life. He was alive and he was floating and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing wearing these pants and a t-shirt or no shirt. I just came out of the thing and I'm wearing pants but no shirt. I was in a coffin moments ago, but my cells do not deteriorate. Therefore, if you reinvigorate them with, I don't even know. They should have used solar energy, guys, right? They should have launched his body into the sun, into the middle of the sun. This is a much better idea. Hey, Hollywood. Yeah, I hold. Yeah, hi. This is President Hollywood officially of President of the Hollywood entertainment industry. Superman is powered by the sun. Why don't you just launch his body into the sun? Okay, goodbye. This was what we used to use as a phone, guys. Like this. Not like this. Hide. That's what we do now. This is what we used to do. Why don't they just get President Hollywood to agree with me on launching Superman's body into the sun and then it get solar energized? That could have been a cool sequence of him just like burning up. Would have burnt his pants up. He would have been flying around with no pants on, but still. Launch Superman's body into the sun. Damn it. That's how you revive a dead Kryptonian. Come on now. I guess they learned how to revive Kryptonians by reviving Zod in the body, in this vat with the same thing. And they were like, well, it worked with Zod and he didn't turn out hideous at all. Why don't we do that with Superman? I'm sure he'll look fine. Superman comes out looking like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Hey guys, remember me? And everybody's like, Superman, something happened to your face. And it's not the mustache. Yeah, Batman needs to brood, but at super speed. Superman comes back with red hair. Hey guys, I got freckles and red hair. It's cute on like a 12-year-old kid, but I'm 30 and I'm Superman. Superman's like the same age as Jesus, coming back at 33. God forbid anyone goes back and watches Dean Cain's Superman and see the reasons that said Superman is so powerful, how difficult it is for him to get a basic haircut. Oh, and Jano, I know exactly which episode you're talking about. Here's the answer to that question. Dean Cain, Superman, from The Adventures of Lois and Clark, he just shoots his laser beam eyes into the mirror to shave and cut his hair. That's how we do it. You can't cut Superman's hair. You cut your scissors. That's why that is just another strike against Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Because in that, Ducky from 16 Candles is in that movie somehow. And he plays, of course, the younger, cooler version of Lex Luthor. But of course, actually he fills the role of Otis. Because I don't think that Otis came back. I don't think that our good friend, that excellent actor, what is his name from Deliverance? He doesn't come back. Otis does not come back, so they need another dumb sidekick for the genius Gene Hackman. So they get Otis, and then there's one hair of Superman's in a museum, and they're showing the tensile strength of Superman. It's like holding up 1 ton. It's just like a 1-ton ball, and one hair of Superman's head that he donated to this museum is able to hold up and suspend 1 ton. But then they just take clippers and they cut it. And I'm like, come on now. Make them kryptonite clippers. It's easy. But the question for you, ladies and gentlemen, in these final 8 minutes is, are you excited to see the Snyder Cut? What do you think is going to be in the Snyder Cut? Superman in his black suit? Does he come back in a black suit? Did they revive him in a different way? Are they going to add special effects that we don't know about? Like, I guarantee there are unfinished effects sequences that they didn't want to spend the time or money finishing, but they shot. So when they come out with the Snyder Cut, are they going to redo? Are they going to spend money completing effects shots, or are they just going to incorporate the proposed effects shots? I am interested in seeing that. Do you think it's an insult to Joss Whedon for him coming in and creating a complete movie? Or you think, hey, Joss Whedon, you came in, you did a job, you fixed up a potentially horrible situation, here's your money, you can go now. And you think if you're Joss Whedon, you're just like, okay, that's fine. I came in, I get it. I was hired to fix a situation and I did it. It's not necessarily my vision. It's not necessarily my artistic vision, but I came in because a buddy of mine, Zack Snyder, needed someone trusted, someone worthy to come in and help finish up what he started. I will finish what you started, but not really. I will not finish what you started. I will. I'm doing Kylo Ren now from The Force Awakens, talking to Darth Vader, communing. I will finish what you started. Oh, I'm not really talking to you. I'm talking to Emperor Palpatine, because Emperor Palpatine is Darth Vader in my head, and he's also Snoke in my head, and Episode 9 is going to be terrible. I know it. So every motivation I have was just me being puppeteered again by the same character from the first 3 movies. This is terrible. This is not really good writing at all. Why can't I have my own single motivation as an evil person? And that's more compelling to overcome than just having Emperor Palpatine come back again. That's a discussion for another day. Also, it's a discussion for every day, because Star Wars Episode 9 is a bad movie. I watched the full description, so my biggest issue is, what good is it releasing it and not 3 proposed sequels? Yeah, there's no good. I don't know what good it is. I think people are just curious as to see. I feel like Warner Brothers is like, all right, well, you want to see a crappier version of a crappy movie? We got it. It's available. We're going to hire my nephew to edit it and maybe release it on HBO Now, because that's cheaper than sending it to all the theaters. That's what I think is going to happen. Anja No says she's more excited. Also heard that gave Zack $30 million to finish it. Dang. That's nice of them. Zack Snyder getting that money. I tell you, that's got to be rough. You know, he's probably forever changed since that situation with his daughter, which is very unfortunate. Yes, guys. And if you have any kind of like sad, depressed thoughts, suicidal thoughts, there are hotlines you can call, because there's always a way. There's always a way. Even if you're feeling down, you're feeling sad, you're feeling, the Rona got you down, you can, there's people to talk to. If you live in Los Angeles County, for instance, you could actually use certain apps that they have that can keep your mind engaged. I forgot what it's called. There's one called like Healthy something. Here, I'm going to find it for you. Free app. Los Angeles COVID. I think that's a good search series. Headspace. Guys, you can get Headspace for free, and it'll keep you engaged mentally and healthy and keep you on a schedule if you're into that kind of thing. Just remember, and I'll be here on noon usually if I'm not working, which I'm not. I don't know if you're working, but I'm not working. I'd like to take this moment for station identification again. AristotleFullThrottle.com. Go there, subscribe. If you subscribe and you comment, you can win a PS5. Guys, subscribe, win a PS5, and hang out, have a good time. Tell me how the games are going on your PS5 when you win. So guys, do that. Once I get to 10,000 subscribers, that's when I'll have a giveaway. Popcorn Passport says they need to reboot the available to rewrite. Wait, they need to do a reboot. Yeah, they're going to inevitably do a reboot. I don't know how they're going to do that with the Avengers movies, though. That's a good question, I think. I would like to see what they're going to do with that. I think maybe they just keep going into the future until we just get all new characters created for the movies. But then it might suck. Do you think they're going to reboot Star Wars? In 10 years, will we start over again? Say with the Skywalker saga or something. Will we start over? The cool thing I like about having Rey be the new Skywalker is in 10 years, she could come back and she could be like the new mentor again. She could be in a whole new series, and I think that's cool. She's set for life. As long as Daisy Ridley and John Boyega and Oscar Isaac are chill, they could come back during the Star Wars movies, even though Oscar Isaac was asked, would you ever come back to a Star Wars movie? And he's like, no. Because he's over it. He is over it. He ain't feeling it no more. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not that excited about the Justice League Snyder Cut, but I will watch it. I just think that it's not going to be good. I just think it's not going to be good. I think the movie, it's passable as it is. It's passable, watchable, enjoyable in moments. However, I think the Snyder Cut is going to be lame. I think it's going to be disjointed. I think it's going to feel incomplete. And if there's a way they can complete the idea of the whatever they were trying to go for, not dissimilar to the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. If you guys go back and watch that, they cut out all of the Richard Linklater stuff that was shot for Superman 2 because they reshot so much of Superman 2 because they fired Richard Donner, who was the director of Superman 1, and Richard Donner filmed a lot of Superman 2 while filming Superman 1, the movie. But then they reshot a lot of the scenes and replaced Richard Donner, because he wasn't playing ball, with Richard Linklater, hoping nobody would notice, because their first name Richard, nobody gonna notice. Two Richards, really? For real? Ain't nobody gonna notice. I noticed that guy is playing Galaga. He didn't think we'd notice, but we did. I tell you, if you go watch Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, they made a movie out of it, a lot of the screen tests. So they cut in some of the screen test footage into the movie, which is just like tentative costumes and tentative sets of looking at Christopher Reeve before he put on like 25 pounds of muscle, 30 pounds of muscle to be Superman. It's so funny. He's like real skinny in some scenes, and then he's like real buff in others. Christopher Reeves. It's really funny. But it's interesting to see, because what Richard Donner did was take away all of the stupid powers that Richard Linklater decided to arbitrarily give our villains and our heroes in that movie, like throwing his S to wrap up the bad guys. That was never anything. Even though the comic books do have dumb versions of Superman powers, like Superman being able to create a smaller Superman out of his hand to throw at you. Look that up. It's true. In these last 2 minutes on Instagram, you guys can jump over to AristotleFullThrottle.com and like the live stream. If you're watching on the live stream, please like the video, because that would help the algorithmic situation. Arlo and the algorithms. Maybe they can bring in a crew to Watchmen, which I still haven't seen, work on the sequel series. Yeah, man. If they do a season 2 of Watchmen, remember guys, Zack Snyder directed the film Watchmen about 10 years ago, which is pretty good, but it's an adapted version of the comic book. It ends differently than the comic book. It's also got different ideas behind it. Zack Snyder is more visually oriented. However, the Watchmen were supposed to be about a bunch of misfits, awkward superheroes that were relatable and very human. However, Zack Snyder still has that ubermensch type of gigantic bro-bodied superheroes that are seem invincible and still cool, even though they're supposed to be lame. That's the whole point. But the series, The Watchmen, on HBO is probably one of the best seasons of television ever, and that's why they were like, we're done. We're just going to stop here. And if they do a sequel to this season of The Watchmen on the HBO, I would wait like 5 years to see a really well done version again. I would wait to see every 4 or 5 years to see another season of The Watchmen if it was like really intensely well written and good. And I'd say that Damon Lindelof redeemed himself with that series, since he kind of messed up Lost, and he definitely messed up Prometheus. But hey, guys, on Instagram, I will see you guys tomorrow. Jump over to AristotleFullThrottle.com, and we will finish up this on the live stream. See you tomorrow. And we're here on YouTube. I really do think that the Justice League movie was fine, but I agree with you, Popcorn Passport. They need to reboot and move on. They need to start over. However, would you guys want to still see Henry Cavill as Superman? I kind of do. I think he's a good Superman. I think he's got that like strong sense of good when he is being good, because in Justice League he finally comes back and says, justice, you know, I know a lot about that, and you're like, that's Superman. In the freaking 2 moments he gets to be Superman and punch the bad guy in Justice League, when he comes back after he's dead, he's the full freaking Superman, and they play the theme. They play his musical theme by John Williams, and I was into it. I was like, there it is. Freaking took 10 years, but we got there, or 7 years, or however many years it was. Superman Returns was kind of underwhelming. I still liked it. I liked that it was in the visual style of the original Superman movies. It was in the spirit of the original Superman movies. It feels like the third movie, 1, 2, and 3. It's so weird how when all of these different entities, Warner Brothers, DC, directors, they all get their hands on the property, they keep mashing it up and changing it recognizable, and then they fight over it and they mess it up, and Richard Linklater's and Richard Donner's create 2 different versions of a Superman 2, and why can't they just all come together and create one solid vision like the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige? That's ultimately the question. Who is trying to get all the power? Hey, Will, nice to see you over here. Who is going to get all the power over at Warner Brothers? Who? Why can't they give these to visionary directors? What's up, Canimation? Justice League was an absolute trash. Anything else would be automatically better. You know, I couldn't have said it better myself. But thank you guys for joining me. Aristotle Full Throttle every day at noon. We have a chat. Maybe we can finish up this discussion tomorrow. There's so much to talk about in the DCEU and the MCU, and what is best for them, and who knows what's best for them better than we do. I mean, it's the fans, really. Kevin Feige is a nerd, all grown up. Kevin Feige is our representative in Hollywood, because he grew up reading these comic books. He grew up going, wouldn't it be cool? He was us. He was us as a kid going, wouldn't it be cool to see these movies actually translated to the screen in an effective and cool way, in an integrated way? Wouldn't it be cool if each one of these comic books was realized visually on a gigantic medium that we could all enjoy together in a fantastical world that we create that's interconnected? Not like Batman and Robin. Not like Batman Forever, where they just keep losing the thread. Remember when sequels would just lose the thread and you're just off in like weird Super Mario Brothers world? Talking about losing a thread from a video game. That's like the equivalent of the 80s and 90s sequels is the movie Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers the movie is to Super Mario Brothers the game as Batman and Robin is to Tim Burton's Batman. It's that freaking crazy. It's nutty. They just lose the thread, man. Ladies and man. I tell you, the batsuit, nipples on the batsuit. Why they gotta go ahead and do that? That's basically how these movies end up. This is what I'll leave you guys with today. Every relationship between an artist and the audience, there comes the person in power or with the money or the venue. And there's always negotiations. And it's crazy. Even if you look at people like Michelangelo, if you look at people like Jeff Goldblum, Jeff Goldblum takes his glasses off dramatically. What is? Huh? Jeff Goldblum is always dramatically taking his glasses off. If you watch anything with Jeff Goldblum, he's always like, now these sneakers. He's very intense. But you have these. I even forgot what I was talking about. But the point is, a lot of these movies lose the thread. I forgot, what was I going to say? I was going to leave you with something really important. Then I got sidetracked by Jeff Goldblum and his glasses. His dramatic. What? Yeah. I can't do it. I can't do it. Something about something. Let's go back. Let's revisit. Oh yeah, here we go. Michelangelo and Jeff Goldblum types. From Michelangelo to Jeff Goldblum, you've got these. There's always an intermediary. There's the person with the vision, right? And then there's the audience that wants something or is about to get something they didn't know they wanted. And Michelangelo is the one who's like, I'm going to create the Sistine Chapel. You guys going to blow your damn minds. You ain't never seen anything like this before. Yo, check this out. I've figured out how to do frescoes on the ceiling. I'm going to create a world. I'm going to blow your damn mind because I'm Michelangelo and I am only driven by art and also other things. But I am a sculptor mainly. But sure, you could hire me to paint. I'm Michelangelo the sculptor, but the church with all the money, the Medici family is the church is the venue. The Medici family is the money. These people are involved. They are the equivalent to the studio heads and the theaters. Think about this. There's the artist who's got the vision, who's got the technique, who's got the style, who's got the ideas. There's the audience that's clamoring. We want this. We want. But then there's the venue that's like, well, we'll let you do it under these conditions. And then there's the money people who are like, yeah, make sure that Jesus is involved somehow. You know, the church is like that too. But the money people are like, we'll give you the money because we want you to do this art thing. But we want to take credit for being the people who gave you the money. Warner Brothers. We want to be the people, we want to say, hey, do you see that brilliant work of art called the Sistine Chapel? Yeah, I paid a guy to do that. Now I'm cool because of that, but I don't have no vision. I don't have any ideas in my head. I just got giant wads of cash to throw at somebody, and I need prestige because that's something I desire in my life. So I will give you the money to have that burning desire to create an art form that is just burning a hole in your brain unless you do it for your life. So there's artists who have these ideas and visions that they want to create and new techniques they want to employ, but they have to follow the guidelines. They have to play ball. They have to play by the rules. So somewhere along the line between the pure vision of the artist and the audience, there are these intermediaries that want to kind of glom some of that prestige and glom some of the, but they don't have the technique or the ideas. They don't have the creativity, but they want the recognition for it. So that's what happens, I think, a lot. And even to this day, you've got studios that are like, we will pay for this movie so long as Superman doesn't wear a cape, he doesn't fly, and he fights a giant mechanical spider. Now, you guys can go watch that speech that Kevin Smith does, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Just Google or go on YouTube, look up Kevin Smith talks about John Peters. Kevin Smith, John Peters. Look that up. It's about a 20-minute comedy speech. It's hilarious. And it's about Kevin Smith writing the screenplay for Tim Burton's Superman that was never produced in the 90s. It was only in pre-production, so they got only so far. So Kevin Smith was hired to write a screenplay for that, and he was hired by John Peters, who is a former hairdresser for Barbra Streisand, but now, to this day, I think, owns the rights to Superman. So every time a Superman movie is made, John Peters, hairstylist to Barbra Streisand, has to approve of it. It's fantastic. Go check that out. So when there's people like John Peters involved in movies, John Peters has zero vision when it comes to film. Maybe he has vision when it comes to like a bouffant or a bob or a bowl cut. That dude has maybe vision when it comes to hair gel, but not when it comes to movies. Because he thought that it would be brilliant if he contributed the genius ideas that Superman not wear a cape, doesn't fly, and at some point fights a giant mechanical spider. Yes, K. Ferg. Yes. And if you watched Wild Wild West, you will see ultimately what became of the giant mechanical spider idea, because it was also produced by John Peters. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm Aristotle, Full Throttle, your bro in the know with the fro.